Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Blueprint podcast, powered by Lapolis Electric. I'm your host, Steven Marcelino, Vice President of Sales with Lapolis Electric, and I'm here today with Lisa Koch, the Vice President of Development with Blythedale Children's Hospital. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. This is a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I know you have, a lot of experience with Blythedale Children's Hospital. You've been there for a little bit over 6 years. And, I know you have a lot of passion for the Children's Hospital. And I'm very excited for you to share that passion and also the knowledge of what Blythedale Children's Hospital is today with our listeners. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Blythedale Children's Hospital, its mission, what you guys are doing for the children and, the families at the hospital.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much. So Blythedale Children's Hospital is what's called a specialty hospital. So I always like to say that if you have a child and they sprain their ankle on the soccer field and need an X-ray, you're not coming to Blythedale. If your child has a cold and you just want to see whether they have the flu, you're not coming to Blythedale. Blythedale is a hospital where children come for longer-term rehabilitation. So, for example, if your child was in an accident and needs physical therapy, occupational therapy, they will come to us. If your baby was born at 25 weeks and was in the NICU for 6 months and is on a ventilator, on a feeding tube, is ready to leave the NICU but not quite ready to go home, that's when you come to Blythedale to get stronger, to be weaned off the vent, things like that. We also have older children who have had conditions like spinal cord infections that have resulted in paralysis. They will be treated at a traditional children's hospital that would have an operating room or an emergency room, and then come to us for rehabilitation to allow them then to go home. We've been doing this for over 130 years here in Blythedale, here in Westchester. And we really serve a very, very specific role within what we call the child health continuum. So you have a traditional children's hospital where it would have an emergency room and things like that you would go for short term and then come home. And then you may have an area where a child needs long-term care. We fill that middle section of children who may need longer-term rehabilitative therapies, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6 months, maybe a little longer. But then, ideally, they go home. And actually, 90% of our patients do go home.
That's beautiful. That's what you guys are there for, ultimately. You're there providing a comfortable patient care experience for the children and for the families as well, because having a 5-year-old son, I can't imagine what it feels like to be a parent of one of the children in the hospital. It's got to be terrifying. It has to be nerve-wracking.
Actually, one of the things I like to say is so I have 2 older children in their 20s, but I remember vividly, especially when my firstborn was born, and they handed me him, and I was like, all right, what do I do with this? Yeah. Now imagine you're a parent and that child is on a ventilator, has a feeding tube, has other tubes, or other things that are monitoring them. How do you hold a child that has all this connected to them? No. So an important thing of what we do is we train our parents, because in the end, the parents are the first line and the last line caretakers of our children. Unfortunately, the ability for our parents to get in-home nursing care is very hard. First of all, it's hard if you just need a traditional nurse. But our children are complex, and trying to get in-home health care that can help take care of those specialty needs is incredibly difficult. So what we do is we literally train our parents. So the minute they walk in the door, we are training them how to walk out the door with their children. So we actually have a simulation lab, which we completely renovated about 2 years ago, which has state-of-the-art, we call them mannequins. We have a baby one, a toddler-sized one, and a larger one. which simulate conditions. They'll simulate breathing, they'll simulate sounds, crying, dilation of the eyes, all different kinds of characteristics. And what we do is we train the parents on these mannequins to learn how to manage these conditions. So, for example, if your child has a tracheotomy and it gets clogged, the parents will kind of hear the sounds of that, or perhaps the ventilator alarm will go off, and then they get to practice on the mannequins. How do they handle that? How do they change the trach tube and do it in a non-emergency situation, so that when that happens to their child, and it will, they know what to do. And not only is it fantastic to give these parents this information, of which many of them don't come with any kind of clinical experience, obviously, they're normal like you and I. The confidence it gives them is incredible. What happens a lot is they end up telling other health professionals how to care for their children. We have had instances where parents, it's been an emergency, they've called 911, the EMT comes, and the parents tell the EMT what to do, because the EMT doesn't have enough experience dealing with the children with these kinds of medical conditions. So it's incredible, obviously, not only to help our children heal, but it is wonderful to give that sense of that knowledge and that sense of confidence to the family in general, because that's what allows 90% of our children to go home, is because the parents are able to take care of them.
That's beautiful, and you guys get the whole family involved. It's not just, of course, the number one objective is take care of the babies, the children, and make sure they go home, but it's also make sure the families are equipped to handle these complex situations that, like you said, people like you and I, we're not in the medical field, we're not medical professionals. God forbid we were ever put in a situation of that nature, knowing that there's a hospital out there like Blythedale Children's Hospital to also train and condition the parents to properly care for their children. That's just, that's beautiful, and very important.
And also, Blythedale is a safety net hospital, which means that we accept anyone regardless of their ability to pay. And 3/4 of our patient families are on Medicaid. So here's this family with a medically complex child, perhaps they're in a wheelchair. I talked about being on a ventilator. But they may also be dealing with other issues. Maybe they economically they're struggling. They might be issues of a single parent. It's a single parent household. We have plenty of families that perhaps they live in an apartment that's a walk-up apartment. If your child's in a wheelchair, how do you manage that? Many of them may be dealing with legal issues, perhaps landlord issues and such. So again, they're very complicated situations. And so we actually have a very strong social work program that connects with each of our families to talk to them, to find out what the situation is, help them look towards the time when they will be leaving the hospital and what do they need to succeed. We have a health home program where we actually visit the home to take a look at it, to see, okay, what do you need? What community services should you be connecting with? Simple things like your child's on a ventilator, so therefore the power company needs to know that, so that if the power goes out, you are a priority in getting the power back. So, we often say that once you're part of Blythedale, you're part of the Blythedale family forever. So that when you do walk out of our door, we're not just kind of saying, bye, have a nice life. We are looking at that as the next stage and are there to support you in that stage, because we want you to succeed. We want this family to get out there and be a family like everybody else.
You being one of the, many employees of Blythedale Children's Hospital, what is, what are some of the expertise of your staff and the people that work for Blythedale, both on the, fundraising side, operations, the doctors, the nurses? I know you guys have a massive team at Blythedale to make sure that these services are available, to the children.
Sure.
And, obviously we need to, the community needs to tip our hat to the staff of Blythedale, because ultimately you guys are the backbone to the whole organization.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I like to say that the makeup of the patients at Blythedale is not cookie cutter. Obviously, I always like to say it's, you have situations where maybe a hospital or organization specializes in a certain type of care, which is wonderful. We need those. Blythedale is completely the antithesis of that. Every single one of our patients is unique and has a unique set of challenges that they're facing both medically and socially and such. So we have an incredible team of, I think it's about 600 staff at Blythedale that have clinical expertise, pediatricians. We have occupational therapists, physical therapists, feeding specialists, speech specialists, social workers, specialists in child life, which is an important program where we work with the families to help them deal with the challenges of healing. Like I said, many of our families are looking at years of a healing process, and that can be incredibly frustrating. It can be scary. It can be challenging. And so we have a child life program that works with the patients and the families to help them deal with that. It includes art therapy, music therapy. It gets them to kind of look at their healing process in a different way and such. And that's really, really important to what we do. One of my favorite stories I love to tell in relation to how important something like child life is we had a family that had twins that were at the hospital, and they must have been toddlers. I forgot, maybe 18 months and such. And the grandmother bought bathing suits for the twins. And mom was like, "That's nice, Mom, but what am I going to do with bathing suits? We're sitting here in the hospital. I appreciate it, but where are we going to go?" So the child life specialist that worked with the family said, "Let's figure something out."
Wow.
And she put together a pool party for the family. God. And they set up an inflatable pool in the hospital. They had a calypso music going, they had bubbles going, and for a few hours, this family was just a family. They weren't a family in the hospital, they weren't dealing with stuff. They were playing in a pool, which is what all of us want as a family. And that Child Life program gave them that. And that's what that program does, is it allows families to be families. And what's really important about that is that the Child Life program actually is not covered by insurance. So, talking about philanthropy and the importance of having friends of Blythedale, those friends help us have programs like the Child Life program.
Yeah.
And things like the Acroshore golf outing that LaPolis Electric is incredibly involved in and such help support these programs that are not naturally covered by insurance or any of the other reimbursement programs.
Yeah, and I think, community outreach is extremely important. And that kind of goes into, the next thing I wanted to ask. For anybody listening, that's hearing the mission of Blythedale and all the wonderful things that you guys do have to offer, what are ways the community can get involved, with Blythedale Children's Hospital, whether it's volunteering, donating, becoming a donor, or having a golf outing or some type of fundraiser event in honor of Blythedale? What does that process look like?
Well, the first thing I recommend is come for a tour. It's, I can sit here and talk about all the wonderful things that Blythedale does and about our families. It is nothing like seeing it. I will tell you that there are so many times that somebody walks in the door saying, "I never expected it to be like this," and meaning in a fantastic way. So Here's an open invitation. Anyone who wants to come visit, please give me a call. I'd love to set something up. I love showing people around Blythedale. So that's your first thing. But
Make sure you call Lisa and go on a tour. Come on.
At Blythedale.org. I'm on the website.
We'll put, for anybody that is interested in doing a tour of Blythedale Children's Hospital, all of Lisa's information will be in all the captions of, the videos posted. It'll also be in the YouTube video caption as well. If you would like to reach out to Lisa, we'll put all of her contact information in there, so you can go to Blythedale and set up your tour today.
So that's a great first start. We actually have a lot of companies that when they set up employee service days, we'll come and do them at Blythedale. We love doing that. It's a great opportunity for employees to interact with our children and to learn about what we do, and for our children to learn about the companies that are in our neighborhoods and the people who are doing the various jobs and such. So that's a great interaction. Running, we have our own events. We have a 5K that we do once a year. And this year, for the first time, we did it in person. It's actually been going on for 5 years, 4 of them virtually. But we did it for the first time this year at Horace Greeley High School. It was an incredible success. And we look forward to doing it again next year. So mark your calendars for next May. We have a celebration of Blythedale occurring on November 14th, taking place at Brayburn Country Club, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year. Raises over $800,000 for the programs at Blythedale. Critically important. Those funds are critically important to what we do. And then we have events like our golf outing, like the Acrisure Golf Outing, which, again, this is a perfect example of businesses getting involved at Blythedale. It's a great opportunity for the business to have a fun day on the golf course and to support Blythedale.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the golf outing and also to your relationship and Blythedale Children's Hospital's relationship with Carmine Lapolis as well? Because I know I've known Carmine for over 20 years, and Blythedale is one of, he has a lot of priorities, and Blythedale is up there on his priority list. I know you guys hold a very special place in his heart, and, he wants our company involved. Mm-hmm. He loves being involved. And every year, the golf outing, when it gets into like the end of July, August, that's all he's talking about is this golf outing and getting ready for it and making sure people are active and donating and getting involved with the golf outing, and how could you not, especially after hearing you speak about the Children's Hospital, and for anybody else that knows the mission of the hospital, how could you not want to be a part of that community? So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the outing coming up and also the relationship that you guys have with Carmine Lapolis? Sure,
absolutely. Well, I always love to say that Carmine is he's one of my favorite people. I basically got to meet him once I started at Blythedale about almost 6 years ago. And it is obviously we're lucky to have a lot of supporters, but there's just something special about Carmine. His incredible devotion it's inspirational for us, to be honest with you. The things he has done to support Blythedale, not only himself personally, but with Lapolis Electric, his outreach. We are grateful to have Acrisure as a title sponsor of the event. He was the one that connected us with BNC, which has transformed into Acrisure, and it is thanks to him that we have so many wonderful partners that work with us, and not only for the Acrisure Golf event, but also beyond that. So he is a really wonderful person about making connections and networking and introducing people to each other. And we are just so grateful that he's on our team, to say the least. He himself, I think he's personally raised about $1 million. The events itself has raised over $4 million over the years.
Wow.
Even during the time that I've been at Blythedale, it has been so inspirational to just watch Carmine grow the event. He is just an incredible advocate for what we do. His passion for Blythedale comes out in everything he does regarding this event. He doesn't say, "Oh, just come out for a great day of golf." He says, "No, these children need your support. You're going to be a part of this." And he has put together an incredible, team of people, not only at Lapolis, but just his world of contacts. And they just step up year after year after year, and we are so grateful. This is one of our premier events over the year, and we look forward to it every year. And not just saying that, we really have fun, really
Yeah.
do. There's just a warmth in the event that's just so special. You feel like you're just golfing with friends and spending the day with friends, which is so different, I think, than other potentially charity events where it's just more formal. This really feels like you're going to a friend's house,
Yeah.
and it's we just love it, and we are so grateful for Carmine's support and commitment to all we do.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I know, apart from the golf outing, we get involved, come into the hospital. I remember a lot of employees going during the holidays to color with the children and, kind of just overall throughout the year, just bring joy to the hospital. It's not, obviously donating is a huge part of it with the golf outing and fundraising to have these services available, but to also just give these kids experiences to be kids.
Absolutely.
Simply just going there to draw a photo or, color in a picture with one of the children in the hospital means the world to them.
Absolutely.
Doing food drives and toy drives during the holidays, the 5K, There's so many different things that Lepolis can do and other people can do in general to just give back to the hospital and help these kids have, what feels as much like a normal childhood as possible.
And I do want to kind of highlight what you just said. Again, coming back to the fact that so many of our children are on Medicaid, simple things like food drives. You wouldn't think of that for a hospital necessarily, but again, we really connect with our families. We want our families to focus on taking care of their child, have to focus on where they're going to get their next meal or how are they going to afford groceries. That's unacceptable to us. So we do that. We work with organizations to conduct food drives. Again, that's another way to get involved. It's easy. Again, you reach out to my office. We're more than happy to work with people and organizations to set that up. We do in the holidays have a wish list. And we, again, are happy to share that to engage people to, if there's an employee outreach effort that a company wants to do, we can make it really easy. And we love working with people. So.
Yeah, and it's great, too. And I think, like Carmine, I take networking very seriously and growing connections, just in industry and friendships in general, and just in my time in, in the professional industries, I've noticed just friends of mine, like my friends over at Why Not You Media and, the Vladimirsky team, Roman Vladimirsky.
Yep.
These are people who have gotten involved with giving back to Blythedale as well.
Yep.
Because of the mission that Carmine Lepolis carries out. And, I think people see the passion, behind that. And it's people are like, I need to be a part of this community,
Absolutely.
Because once you hear the stories and once you do your tours, I mean, there's a lot of wonderful organizations out there, but I think Blythedale, especially, all of us being from Westchester County, we're able to directly impact, an organization in our backyard, and that's one of the most beautiful parts about it.
Thank you. Well, and it's really important. We are so grateful for organizations, obviously like Lepolis and Why Not You Media and the Vladimirsky team, because since Blythedale is not a traditional community hospital where people just walk through the door, a lot of people aren't aware of what we do. Although I always say when someone doesn't know, I say that's good. That means you didn't need us. But that being said, it's important for people to be aware of what we do and how we do serve the community, and having friends like those businesses and those individuals allows us to tell our story. And to get out there and just to have people be aware of who we are and what we do and the role we serve in the community. So having friends like that is so important to what we do, and we are so appreciative.
Thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the school at Blythedale? I know you guys are opening up the new school, or the school may be open. I apologize if I misspoke on that. But why don't you take the opportunity to tell the community a little bit about the school and all the specialty features, to make sure these kids have an education that you guys offer.
Well, we often say that for children, what is their jobs? Their job is to play and their job is to learn.
Yep.
And we are actually the only hospital that has a school connected to it. So
Wow.
we have the Mount Pleasant Blythedale school system. That is literally on a building connected to Blythedale. It's two different organizations, but we work hand in hand with each other. All the students at the school district are Blythedale patients, and that may mean that we have inpatients that are obviously staying at Blythedale, but we also have a day hospital program where children will sleep at home, because I always joke that everybody wants to sleep in their own bed, but they come to Blythedale on a daily basis for therapies, medications, and things like that. And while they're here, they go to school.
Wow.
And it is a New York State school system. It is K through 12. I often say that if you had a kindergartner or a first grader in your school district, and then you came to Blythedale, you would see that we are doing the exact same curriculum at Blythedale. What makes the school so special is that the patients, who may be in wheelchairs, who may be using walkers, who may have to leave for therapy sessions, that's the norm. They're not the odd man out. They're not the kid in the wheelchair that may happen at a traditional school and such. They are among their peers. So, I need to leave to go take my medication. Everybody's like, okay, see you later. See you get back. It's an opportunity for them to learn. Our teachers are incredible. Not only are they certified in the subjects that they teach, whether it is elementary or, of the various specialty subjects, like, math, the various levels of math and science and such in the high school level. They're also certified in special education. So these teachers are just... It is amazing to watch them in action, because not only are they educating these children, they are understanding them, and they understand how to get to them, how to educate them. And the joy and the enthusiasm and energy in the classrooms are amazing. They also understand, the school understands that these children will be growing up and need to be educated.
Yep.
As much as we talk about our own children needing to get an education so that they can go out in the real world and get a job and support themselves, most of these children are going to have to do the same thing. So it is really important that they get quality education. One of my favorite courses that the high schoolers takes is a finance class.
Oh, wow.
And they do, it is honestly like taking a college level course. The things they talk about and learn about, they obviously look at doing stock picks and things like that.
Wow.
It was actually fun because recently one of the things that we do with one of the volunteer opportunities is for companies to come in and sit and talk with the high school students about what do they do. And this could be range from an investment banker, an accountant, an office manager, production assistant, just so that the children can understand what's out there to do. And the reason I bring this up is we had a company that was an investment bank come in. So they had a number of their employees around. So they were talking about finance and investments and such. It became a very, very spirited conversation. And afterwards, the employees of that company walked out going, oh my God, I can't believe the things that these children were talking about and the knowledge. And some of the things they said, they're like, we didn't even know what the terms were.
Wow.
So it just shows the seriousness of which the school takes their role in educating the students. And
That's
such.
awesome.
So again, a perfect reason to come visit Blythedale, because you need to see this.
Yeah. And it sounds like everything you guys do at Blythedale, there's like a serious passion behind every employee that is involved in the school, and a very high level of, love and care. And I think that's really, put all the accolades of all the employees aside and all the great things everyone's accomplished in their professional career. I think it really comes down to passion, care, and love. And that's why, you guys are so successful in what you're doing for the children and their families, and, making sure that everybody is comfortable and also able to progress in their life, outside of, the hospital. so to speak.
That's what we try to do, And you talk about passionate. I think it shows in the tenure of many of our staff. Our CEO has been there almost 25 years.
Wow.
We have a brand new chief medical officer, Dr. Stephen Leinenweber, who is just a breath of wonderful ideas and fresh air. So we're thrilled to have him there. We have many employees who have been there 40 years, 35 years.
Unbelievable.
And the joy in their face to come to work every day is just phenomenal. Who works someplace for 30 years and is still happy to come there? But at Blythedale, there's a lot of people.
That's awesome.
It's a fantastic place. It really
That's
is.
beautiful. Lisa, I really appreciate you coming out today and speaking about Blythedale and all the wonderful things the hospital has to offer and your experience in working with Lepolis and the new school that you guys have at Blythedale. This has been a great conversation, and I really enjoyed it. I had to hold myself back from tearing up a couple times throughout the conversation because it's everything about Blythedale Children's Hospital is truly heart-touching for me, especially having a 5-year-old son and growing my family. It's definitely it hits home to hear what you guys are doing at the hospital, but also what the children and the families are going through that are in the hospital. So I really appreciate you coming out and giving our listeners an opportunity to hear all the wonderful things you guys are doing, and also what everybody can do to get involved in helping Blythedale Children's Hospital. So
great.
Lisa,
well, thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Beyond the Blueprint podcast, powered by Lepolis Electric. I'm your host, Stephen Marcelino, Vice President of Sales with Lepolis Electric. Have a great day.